And now, live from Level 5 Productions on the island of Milleronia, it's The Larry Miller Show. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and everyone who loves hitchhiking. Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Larry Miller Show. I'm Larry Miller, but in a way, aren't we all? And boy, oh boy, it was beautiful today. And Colonel Jeff and I are on the mainland. We're at stately Miller Manor. We're not on Milleronia. And there's a reason for that. After all, there's always a reason for everything. And boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, even when it's, I've been a really hot streak in the weather. Not on Milleronia, because, again, I control it there. But even when it gets hot, it can just be beautiful. Today was beautiful here in Southern California, and I know that the music always makes me happy anyway. It really does. Of course, that was the Alan Hale Orchestra and the Ann Sheridan Dancers, featuring boy tenor Mike Lucking, asking the musical question, if I'm with my best girl at the beach and a bully comes and kicks sand in my face, what do I do? Good question, Mike. And, in a situation like that, and I hope all of you folks out there agree, the best and the most important thing to do is protect your girlfriend. Hey, I mean, she's your best girl. You don't want the bad guy to mess her up. And so what you do is, as soon as you see that guy coming and he rears back one of his feet and he's just going to, kick up a big shovel full of sand and going for your face, but your girlfriend is right there. So what you do is, first of all, protect her, cover her up. And, once you do that, I'll bet you 9 out of 10 times a bully, a bad guy, is just going to go, he's going to get all annoyed and storm off. And what you can do is you say to your girlfriend, you okay? Because you can say, you okay, honey? And she's, yeah, I'm all right. And brush, some sand off her forehead. And even if it's not there, just brush it off and show you how, what a nice guy you are. Give her a little kiss on the forehead and smile at her. And, and she'll smile back at you. And then, tell her, hey, I want to still hold you close like this because just in case that guy comes back. And, who knows what he'll be up to then. And she'll probably agree with that. And then so you just, kiss her on the cheek and smile. And then kiss her on the other cheek and smile. And she might giggle and you might giggle. And then hold her hand as you're, then give her a kiss, as long as you're, on top of her. And then at that point, sure, you can, brush some sand off her breast. And I mean, I don't mean you should annoy other people on the beach there, but just no one's really going to notice that. And people will understand too. They say, the bad guy was a bully and he's protecting his best girl. And I think they'll all, come to their senses after about 20 minutes, when you and your girl are just kind of making out. But that's the thing to do. And then you can both stand up and, giggle it off and walk hand in hand, either to the ocean or to the snack bar to get a hot dog or to, a Motel 6, whatever you like. That's my point. Whatever you want, you and your best girl decide. But Mike, I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good question. And Mike Lucking's wondering, if I am with my best girl at the beach and a bully comes and kicks sand in my face, what do? You know what? You fight back by making out with your girlfriend. Even just saying that, by the way, it didn't seem to make a lot of sense, but it sure did to me when I first thought of it. I think Colonel Jeff agrees. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Let me just ask one of our doggies is here, Ozzy, and does that make sense to you, Ozzy? Okay, he's pretending to be just asleep on the floor here in the studio, but I think that makes good sense to him, too. And so thanks, Mike, as always. And I mentioned Alan Hale and Ann Sheridan in the beginning there, and they deserve to be called the great Alan Hale and the great Ann Sheridan. Wonderful actors from, the 30s and 40s. And Alan Hale, what a great actor. You've seen him, by the way. He was in Errol Flynn's movie Robin Hood, still the greatest Robin Hood I've ever seen, the greatest Robin Hood story. Alan Hale, a big muscular man and beefy, and what talent he had. He could play any one of 100 different characters, and he and Errol Flynn were good friends. In fact, very good friends, close friends, and they used to hang out together and get together during the day and, go someplace where we can get, an iced tea or something like that, and especially on a hot summer day. And, maybe it was just a giant glass of whiskey instead, and whatever it was. But they were both, I love both those guys. And Alan Hale, by the way, could be called Alan Hale Sr., because he had a son named Alan Hale Jr., and you all know him, from movies and also so many TV shows, and the most famous of which was as the skipper on Gilligan's Island. That's Alan Hale Jr., and I always liked that guy a lot, too. He comes from a good family of talent. Ann Sheridan, wow. I mean, holy mackerel, God bless her. What a great actress, and just the most beautiful woman in her day of, holy mackerel, she could talk her way in anything, any character. And she played Jimmy Cagney's girlfriend in Angels with Dirty Faces, for instance. And, it came out that Jeff saw a movie. The reason I was thinking of them was Colonel Jeff saw a movie over the weekend. He was, feeling a little under. He had a little germ, and he found a station that played all the best old movies, and he loves them the way I love them. And one of them was They Drive by Night, which I've seen years ago. I mean, more like closer to being a kid. And that's with starring George Raft and Humphrey Bogart. Is that good enough for you? And Alan Hale and Ann Sheridan. So that's why I wanted to mention them and say, God bless you both. You were great, and you are great. And by Amazon. That's right, Amazon. Still the finest company in the world. And you can get anything you want from Amazon. Anything you can possibly think of, anything you can imagine, except, of course, an actual Amazon. I don't think they send those out. You can't. If they do, by the way, if you're home one day and the doorbell rings and doon doon, and you open it up and there's, an Amazon. She's 6'4" and great muscles and a great figure and just gorgeous. I mean, first of all, the most important thing is call us and make sure we know. Here at the center of the show at Stately Miller Manor, and even if we're on Milleronia, the calls go right through there, and we'll come by fast, and we'll greet the Amazon princess that they sent to you, and we'll shake hands with you and give you a nice pair of sunglasses, or something about like that, and then we'll take the Amazon off to headquarters to make sure she's happy and comfortable and doesn't get, freaked out by modern society. She might by us, but not modern society. In any case, though, you know what? Amazon is terrific. Go to Amazon. Get anything you want, and you can get your laptop, your iPhone, anything you have will get you to Amazon, but mostly we'll get you there. Let us take you there. Go to our website, LarryMillerPodcast.com. Who's on the mountain? Tom Mix. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have had the fish. But, Amazon, yes, go to us. We'll get you there. We have a banner that says Amazon. Click our banner when you go to our website. And we'll get, then at that point, go lie down in your easy boy chair and lean it back and just put a magazine over your face and take a nap. We'll take care of the rest. So thank you, Amazon. Thank you, folks. And our job is to get you both together. And that brings me to my favorite part of the show, the joke of the week. And, well, you know what? This is a pretty good one, too. Colonel Jeff and I both got a nice giggle out of this one. And I hope you do, too. An elderly couple goes every year, once a year, to the state fair. And they're not that old. They're in their 50s or 60s, and they're a good, close couple. It's Walter and Ethel. And every year, well, they enjoy it. They go here, they go there. They throw little rings over Coke bottles, and they get a bite to eat. But every year, Walter still feels a little pulled because they have a helicopter ride. And there's a guy there, and it's $50 for an hour, and Walter keeps thinking, gee, and he always says to his wife, he says to Ethel, I'd like to go up on that. I'd like to, go on the helicopter and see what that's like to look at the whole area from a helicopter. And Ethel says to him, well, I know that sounds good, but remember, Walter, $50 is $50. And he says, you're right. That's true. And so he never goes up. And they don't go up. And every year, though, the same thing. And they go there, and they have a terrific time at the state fair. But he always says they pass the guy, and in his helicopter, just, leaning against it. And Walter says again to Ethel, I want to go. I'd like to go on a helicopter. And she says it's the same. I know, sweetie, but $50 is $50. He says, yes, actually, you're exactly right. Yes. And so every year goes by and he never goes on it. After 25 more years, they get there back at the state fair, and Walter says to her this time, gee, honey, I got to be honest with you. I'm 87 now. I don't know how long I'm gonna live, and well, I have a feeling if I don't go up on the helicopter now, I may never do it. And she looks at him and smiles and says, oh, I don't know. Well, $50 is $50. And at that second, the pilot just strolls over to them and says, hiya, folks. You know what? I see you every year coming here. And I know you want to go up on the helicopter. And, well, yes. And he says, I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Come on, both of you, onto the helicopter. And I'll take you up and I'll show you the whole area, and I'll do a couple of tricks and go this way and spin this way and that way. And the deal is this. If you don't say a word and don't scream and don't overreact and just stay silent during the whole trip, I'll give it to you for free. No charge. And then, so Walter and Ethel look at each other and smile, and then the guy says, and if you do yell, if you do scream, if you, or whatever you do, well, then I'm going to charge you the $50. And they said, great. And they get on the plane. He leads them onto the helicopter. And they get on there, and he gets in the pilot's position, and he, sure enough, turns the whole thing on, and up they go. And folks, he does everything. He takes them up, and he spins this way, then he does a flip. He goes around that way. Then he does kind of a dive and just turns and goes back up again and everything. And they don't make a sound. And well, how do you like that? The pilot thinks. And so he does it again. He gives him all the stuff again. Every trick he has. Go this way, out way, sideways, bang, up, down. And folks, the same thing. They don't make a sound. And he lands them after an hour. He lands them back down, where they started. And he turns around and says to Walter, buddy, I've got to hand it to you. I'm very impressed. I really thought you were going to crack there, but you didn't, and good for you. And Walter says, well, to be honest, I almost said something when Ethel fell out, but $50 is $50. I hope you like that. We got a kick out of that. That's in the holy mackerel world of jokes. Wow. So she just fell out. And that was about 500 feet up, and he doesn't know no one knows where she'd be. And but there you go. That's a good joke, and I hope you like it. And as always, if you do, keep it alive. Tell it to your friends at work or your family, all your loved ones and friends, because, well, keeping a good joke going is like keeping good music going. And I hope you agree. And that brings me to my second favorite part of the show, the Poetry Corner. I love that string quartet. This is a terrific poem. It's called When You Are Old by the great William Butler Yeats. When you are old and gray and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true? But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face, and bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled, and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. Isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? As I said to the Colonel, well, you can't beat Yeats. And I don't know why you'd try, but stop trying, because you can't do it. And that brings me to my third favorite part of the show, MMM, the Magic Movie Moment. This is a terrific movie, and it was a great a huge hit Broadway play, and it's Fiddler on the Roof from 1971, directed by Norman Jewison, and what a cast, good Lord. And it's a terrific movie, and all the folks who wrote this great music, and based on all these stories by Shalom Aleichem, by the way, and about Tevye the milkman and his family in the Pale in Russia, in imperialist Russia, before the Russians said, you know what? Time to throw all the Jews out. And it's a wonderful story with so many great characters and so many good, oh boy, the comedy in this is just fabulous. And that's no kidding. You find yourself, it's the classic, you laugh and you cry, and you've never felt better about both. And the magic movie moment for me in this, and there are so many, but the magic movie moment for me is that Tevye and his wife, Golda, are in town with their kids, and they've done a couple of things, a couple of errands, and Golda says, okay, let's go home now. And she starts to walk off, and Tevye says, wait a minute. I came to see Muddle's new machine. His son-in-law got a new sewing machine, and that was pretty good. That was wild, in fact. They were very poor, but for a young tailor to get a sewing machine, that was really something. And Tevye says, that's why we came in to see, so I could see the machine. And then Golda says, you'll see it some other time, and let's go home now. And Tevye says, no, I'll see it now. And what we see is a great moment in a marriage come up. That's why I came, and that's what I'll do. I'm going to see it, and then we'll go home. And his wife stands there and folds her arms, and she's not happy. She's got an angry look on her face, and there Tevye goes, which is about 20 feet away, up to the front door there of his son-in-law's and daughter's house, and he opens the door, walks in, closes the door, slam. 2 seconds later, door opens again, he walks out, closes the door, and says, "There, I've seen it. Now we can go." And that's, of course, he walks off, strutting like the man of the house, and his wife is just, boy, she's got those arms folded still, and it's not going to be a pleasant time back at the house. But that's a great moment. That's a great, well, marriage moment anyway, but very, very good stuff. If you haven't seen Fiddler on the Roof, either one of the many, many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of productions that are done all over the United States and Canada and all over the world, and if you haven't seen the movie, see it, folks. Fiddler on the Roof. You'll be glad you did. And that made me think of my younger son because he's going back to school tomorrow. Our older son is already at work. And he'll get back late tonight, somewhere around 1 or 2 in the morning. And but this is our younger son's trip back to school, and he's going to drive back. He drove out here, and then he's going to drive back, and that's not an easy trip. That's from Colorado. And he and I drove off this afternoon to do things for him, just things he had to do. Get his car washed and waxed and filled with gas. And each of those things, those are important. You know that. And plus, just being with someone you love. I said to him, "Hey, if you want, I'd like to come along with you." He said, "Sure." And so we both showered up and put our hot day clothes on and got in his car and did that. The car wash and wax and filled with gas. And Mommy was making his favorite dish for dinner that night, chicken cacciatore. Boy, she makes a beauty of a dish out of that, and he loves it. And this was, about 3:30 now. And, boy, she really makes a beauty. And he and I, by the way, after doing all his chores, also stopped at the bank for him to get some cash for the trip. And it just so happens the bank is across a little street from McDonald's. And so he and I did that. We're at the cash machine, and okay, there we go. And I'm just so happy to be with him, and he's happy, and we both smile. And then we went back to the car, and we got in the car, and I said to him, "Okay, look, this is technically breaking a rule. I mean, Mommy's making your favorite dish, and it's not an easy thing to make. It's not, she's really got to go, well, up and down and around to make that thing." And, but, well, he and I hadn't had lunch, and I said to him, "The truth is, I wouldn't mind a bite. Can we just stop in someplace? It doesn't have to be huge, anything." But, and he said, and I said, "I mean, we're here at McDonald's, and it's right at where the car is parked." And I said, "Doesn't have to be there. It could be anything, and it doesn't have to be big. Just, here it is now. It's 3:30. And, should we?" And he said, I wouldn't mind a bite too, and I know what you mean, that it doesn't have to be something big, and we can just eat half of what they give you." And I said, "That sounds good." Or I would have said that if I hadn't already been running to McDonald's. And we both just walked in and got what did we get? We each got a quarter pounder, and he got a cup for some water. And I did, well, another sin. I got a medium Coke. I like Coke, and I thought, well, what a better time on a hot day like this after doing all those chores And so I did that, and we sat down at the table. And just as we said, we had about half of each quarter pounder. And it's not that you want to, could we have eaten the whole thing? Well, sure, but why? Why bother? Let's have a good meal with this terrific thing that you love and that Mommy's making right now. And he said, sure. And you know what? We did that, went back to the car, got in, and I'm wearing, by the way, a T-shirt he gave me when he was a younger guy. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't, spill ketchup or burger juice on the T-shirt. And I said to him, by the way, because women have a power that men don't understand, that I said, just doing this, just walking into McDonald's, I'm sure Mommy's at home in front of her computer, and then just suddenly, the eyes look up and just she knows. They know. But you know what we did? We got back here, and there's nothing better. She made a great batch, and it's funny, too. She went downstairs with a plate full to watch the Democratic debate. While she ate, she's really into it and wants to see all the stuff with all the commentators and all of what these folks say. And he sat down in the living room while eating so he could play his favorite video game, Death, Death, Death. And I had a small plate, too, in our bedroom, which is the biggest sin of all. And I'm glad we're in the studio. I didn't want to say it too loud, but my wife doesn't like if I eat in bed there, and she's not wrong, especially with stuff. And I just didn't have a big portion because I was still full from McDonald's. But then you have that, and so you could say we all ate separately, but sometimes, why the heck not? I hope you agree with that. Of, you know what? Sure, it's his last night in town, and but everyone seemed to want to do that. My wife wanted to go down and watch the show she likes, and he wanted to play video games and help strangle some of the bad guys. And sure, I could go in the room and watch Wagon Train, one of the old stations that I love too. And so he's off and about now. Our older boy is at work already for the night, and our younger one, after dinner, he washed up and cleaned everything off, and he left stately Miller Manor all ready to see his friends one more time. And it's not going to be a late night either, because tomorrow then I'm going to make him a great breakfast, which I do, and help him pack the car. And then he'll shower, shave, load everything up, and hug all of us, including the doggies, and stop off quickly at his summer job where that wasn't, get his final check, and then off on a big drive to college. And this is a big drive, by the way. I mean, this is quite a way. This isn't 200 or 300 miles. This joint is 1,000 miles. But he's a great driver. God bless him. And he's done it before, back and forth. And it made me think about some of my old trips back to school. I mean, once, that's why I mentioned hitchhiking in the beginning, because my good friend Willie Kitts from school came home for me for a 3-day weekend, came home with me. We were on Long Island. We went to school in Western Massachusetts at Amherst. And they had a great time, my parents, and with me and Willie. And our plan, as we, told my folks, was, we'll take the train up from, and my dad drove us on Monday, just as he was going to go to work. So he drove us to the train station in Jamaica, in Queens, and we were going to take that train up a ways and, go back to school. But as he left, and we waved and hugged and shook hands and all of that, and he went back to his work, and Willie and I walked in with our big suitcases, walked into the train station, but it was a phony. He and I knew, he and I had already talked about, you know what, let's hitch back, let's hitchhike back. That was a little wild maybe, not so wild, but we thought about that. And as soon as my dad, God bless him, pulled off, and then Willie and I just took those big suitcases and pounded back out the door and out off to the freeway there, the highway, and stood on the right and stuck our thumbs out. And you know what? That was fine. It was terrific. Well, we weren't sloppy. I mean, sure, we had jeans and sneakers, and probably both of us had long hair. That's right, hair. I had hair. And you know what, though? And we got picked up. Didn't take much time at all. And nice fella picked us up, and we said, well, we're going up to Massachusetts. And we needed to hitch one more ride along the way, but this was fine because we could stop along the way and get a Coke at a local hot shop or one of the freeway restaurants there, or get a burger. And, we bought this fella anything he wanted because why not? So we got him a burger too and a cold Coke and a nice big cup with lots of ice. And then we got back up to school. That was kind of nice. It was only about, if you time it out, I suppose that's a 3-hour ride if you're just going to ride up there. And then if you stop for a bite, well, it's another 20 minutes or a half hour. But so what? We were having a good time, and he was all right, and he was a nice fella. And that was a terrific drive back, and nothing weird happened. We didn't, and the next car we hitched on, this guy had a truck, but the next car was fine. So he's going up there. Why the heck not? And, boy, it reminded me of another one. I borrowed my parents' car once, and I was back at our house on Long Island, and I was going to drive back to school in their car, and I was going to pick up my good friend Mark Glista from school also. And, Mark is a great guy. He works in wood, and he's a craftsman. He's very, very talented at it, and also a great athlete. He's really a world-class. He played soccer at school and also rugby. He looked just right for rugby. That's a compliment. I mean, he was about 6'4", and muscular and fast and tough. And we had a good ride together. I picked him up in New York, and then we just headed up in nice summer weather. And that trip had a little hitch thrown in, so to speak, because I decided that night when we got there, because again, we didn't need to stop for anything. Okay, we did, but I mean, we didn't need to. And we can have a beer or two and another burger or something. But when I got back up to school with Mark, and that was when also all the reunions were about to happen. That was just after graduation time or leading up to, I can't even remember. And all the tents were up. These are big tents, too. These were like, not circus tents, not 50 feet high, but these were, held up by poles. And, well, starting the next day, they were going to be filled up with tables and foods and beer and kegs and bottles and a lot of people. So naturally, I thought the thing to do that night was to drive my parents' car into one of the big unused tents and knock down all the poles. Okay, I didn't say this was the smartest thing I've ever done, but it was, it was terrific, frankly, and I wouldn't knock them down going 35 miles an hour, but I would go up to a pole with the front end and just go tap into it and stop there. And then you step on the gas slowly and just to push the pole away and off its foundation there. And I did that. Well, I did about 20 poles like that. And now, sure, by the way, you could say, well, wait a minute, what about the gigantic bumps that it put in the roof of your parents' car? Well, okay. And what about all the big, really wrapping in there on the bumpers? Okay. But you know what? That wound up being a great trip, too. And, yeah, I paid for whatever. It wasn't really, really, really bad damage, but it wasn't the same condition as when I borrowed it. But my parents were okay, and, well, me and Glista were fine. I told Colonel Jeff that he was just, what a great guy, and we were always good friends. We still are, and I remember when I told him what I had done with knocking down the poles, because I went back to one of the places, and he had a cup of beer and handed me one, and I told him what I had just done, and he wasn't the type of guy who would say, what are you, stupid? How are you crazy? It's your parents' car, this or that. He just said, oh, okay. That's, and that was a great part of that trip. I hope you know what a good trip is like that. I hope you've had them too, and will in the future. Oh, you don't have to knock down tent poles, but you know what? You'll know it's good because you and I know the same things. Homer is Homer, and Pluto is a planet. So remember, folks, as always, if you walked out of bed today and had a job to go to and a home to come back to, and someone there who cares about you, folks, the game's over and you've won. So be well, and you know what? Don't hit any poles. We'll see you here next time.